Okay, so good morning and welcome to Designing an Employee Benefit Package to Attract and Retain Talent. This session is particularly topical at the moment as we are, as a whole nation, really going through a really sort of strange time in terms of recruitment and retention as well. So certainly for the first time in my career, the whole way that employees and employers are interacting with each other at recruitment stage has completely changed. And what I mean by that is, historically, we've always had employees competing for job with employers generally, and now we're very, very much it's tipped completely the other way. We're very much in more in a place where employers are competing more for employees. So we're going to be running through quite a few different aspects of it. There's some interesting things going on in the media at the moment, which are very HR related. And whilst we shouldn't see the fact that people are treated well or feel secure or safe in the workplace, as an employee benefit is certainly something which we should be looking at in terms of retention and attracting talent. So there's only a few of us today, so both of you, if you want to, ask a question or make a point, please just feel free to interrupt or pop your hand up, whichever way you prefer to do it. And there'll be time at the end for questions as well, if you would prefer to wait until that point. So in terms of the way forward with employee benefits, we have got quite a lot going on with Welsh Government at the moment, very much wellbeing focused, and also very topically in the news, they're looking very strongly actually at the 4-day working week. So what does that mean for an employee benefit? You know, for some people that might be a benefit. Some people actually enjoy working 5 days a week. And some people find it quite horrifying just thinking about it. But I think a lot of business leaders and owners are very much kind of sitting back and just waiting to see what happens with it. Some of them with a little bit of trepidation. So we'll be talking about those things that are going on in the media as well and bringing those into play because they're topical and they're relevant to us, particularly where we are at the moment. So, my screen is not moving. Can you both see the screen okay?
Yeah, I can see, well, there's slide 1 which says attracting and retaining talent. So I can see.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, my screen's not moving for some reason. Bear with me a second. Apologies. Okay. Excellent. It's moving.
That's working.
Brilliant. So just a quick intro for myself. My name is Cath Demaid. I've been in the HR and learning and organisational development space for around 30 years without being too specific. My original background was Lloyds Bank, where I kind of got my feet, my professional qualifications, CIPD, learning and development quals, that kind of thing. I was then a freelance consultant for a long time, just under 20 years. And recently I have become the full-time head of learning and organisational dev at EST. So I work with a fantastic team of HR professionals. We do a lot of work with AGP, so we do a lot of work on client sites, supporting businesses with HR, strategy, training and development, that kind of thing. So a really kind of mixed bag, if you like. EST is an interesting organisation in that. Sorry, it's going wild, my screen. I don't know why. Hopefully it'll calm down in a second. It's an interesting organisation in that it is a professional services organisation. So we have an outsourced HR division, we have an accountancy division, and we have a wealth management division as well. So quite a lot going on with that. So what we're going to be looking at in the session today, so making sure that benefits are regularly reviewed, very, very important, particularly in kind of more niche businesses where you're looking at specialist talent, specialist skills, that kind of thing, because the level of competition is higher. So the more regularly you review them, the more certain you can be that you're actually meeting the needs and wants of potential talent in a business. We'll be looking at surveys, the benefits of those. We'll be looking at, putting benefits packages together. How do we do that? What's our starting point? How you actually use benefits to your advantage in terms of how you use them to promote yourself as a business and attract talent. And then also raising the profile of benefits internally. Now, this is an interesting point. So we actually carry out benefit reviews fairly frequently for clients, and it always amazes us how many people, how many employees actually don't know the benefits that they actually have. So, for example, I was in an organisation yesterday talking to somebody who's got a few minor health problems, shall we say, and I said to them, well, have you looked at your employee assistance program, which actually offers some really great sort of treatments, alternative treatments, even sometimes for minor ailments? And they didn't know they actually had the policy, which is poor, isn't it? It's something we definitely need to address in terms of promoting your benefits internally, shouting from the rooftops about them, and also the benefits of the benefits that you actually have. One example of something that I love is that we have one client who every 6 months, they have their financial advisor come into the firm, they sit him in an office, and they will go through and review their pensions, all that kind of stuff. So they're actually very, very aware of the life cover package that work offers, the pension packages, all of that kind of thing. And just having that interaction raises the awareness of what's actually there for them. That helps massively with retention if people actually realise what they've got and what we've offered as a business. So in terms of getting support with benefits, it's about making sure that you use the specialists that are related to the benefits that you are offering. So the financial advisors with the pensions, that kind of thing, get the profile up there, use the support. There's nothing more than a financial advisor loves than having the opportunity to come into a business and talk to people. So this session really is for you if you are, preparing to recruit, or recruitment is something which is ongoing. If you're struggling to attract candidates for jobs at the moment, or the right caliber of candidates. If you're receiving feedback from employees, they're actually saying to you, we don't know what our benefits are, or the benefits we do have do not meet our needs and wants. They're not attractive to me. They're not adding value to my employee experience at all. So, for example, I didn't work with an engineering firm. They have got one of the best childcare provisions in their benefits package that I have ever seen. However, they have a significantly older workforce. So when we reviewed it, whilst that is an amazing benefit, only 2% of their workforce can or are actually benefiting from it. So we have to sit back and ask ourselves, is that something which we should be ploughing emphasis on for that business? 10 years ago, it was a very different landscape in the workplace. So demographically, they had people with childcare needs and wants, but now they don't. So that is kind of like our trigger for, we need to review this. We need to, have a look what's going on and consult and find out what people actually want. Something else which we need to be mindful of is benchmarking. So in terms of being competitive in the employee attraction market, you should be really benchmarking yourselves against your major competitors. because, and you should be promoting, what you're doing, so that if you've got a potential employee, that person is going to, whether they consciously or unconsciously do it, they're going to be comparing what you're offering and how you promote yourself as a business. So when you're thinking about marketing yourself as a business, these employee benefits are absolutely key. And it's something that is being missed. Retention then. So if you are struggling to retain employees, or you are struggling to keep them engaged in the business, if you're struggling to keep them motivated, there is fundamentally something missing. So that's something which we're going to be talking about as well. Okay. So the importance of regular review then, we've already touched on that. However, it's about how you actually do that. So lots of different ways in which we can do it. We actually either carry out regular consultations with clients, or from an organizational point of view, you can use software packages, surveys, that kind of thing. So one software package which is great is Office Vibe. So that actually asks questions in terms of the survey around happiness, motivation, how people feel, but it also asks questions about how people feel in terms of how they're being recognized and how they're being rewarded. What I like to refer that to as is, it's almost like taking the pulse, making sure that the pulse, the reading, is where we need it to be. Most businesses use Office Vibe monthly. If they're finding that they're getting negative feedback, you can actually tailor the survey to make sure that you're either doing more regular reviews, or you're honing in on the areas which you are being told are not good, if they're negative at the moment. So, in terms of industry surveys then, where benefits are concerned, so 3 great ones here. If you go online and you Google them, you can get the full report. They're a very, very interesting read. So Expert HR, CIPD, and Perkbox. It all shows you, if you start to look at the historical side of things where benefits are concerned, it very much shows you that people's needs and wants are changing. So the landscape has changed drastically since COVID. So people are talking about ways of working that probably never really existed in a lot of their hearts and minds before COVID's happened. So Lisa and I were just having a conversation before we started this, and Lisa works from home predominantly, absolutely loves it. I like working home from on a Friday, but I need engagement. I want to be in a team environment. I want to go to an office. I want to have that sense of belonging. And something that our clients are actually finding now is that some of them have made the assumption that everybody wanted to work from home, when actually there are a lot of people saying it's actually really challenging for me to work from home. And unless we carry out surveys and we have engagement, we don't actually know how people are feeling. So the danger zone really with benefits and how people work is that we can't make assumptions. We need to consult. So whether you do that, it's always my preferred way to consult is face-to-face. But if you want to do that by an electronic survey, or whether you want to do it that way, but we have to get in there, roll our sleeves up, and find out exactly what people want, how they want to work, what motivates them, what demotivates them, what makes them feel engaged or disengaged. So in terms of insights and what has happened in terms of these surveys, what they're actually telling us is that well-being is the absolute priority. I'm not telling you anything new there. The word well-being it rolls off the tongue really easily, but what we need to do is actually very, very specifically reflect on what are we doing to ensure employee well-being. So what have we actually got in terms of our benefits? How does it play a part within the culture of the organisation? It's just a word that in a lot of organisations is bandied around quite a lot. But when we actually roll our sleeves up and sit down and say, what is it specifically that you're doing? Quite a lot of organisations can't articulate that because whilst they talk about it, there's no specific action or products or services to actually back it up, which is a huge shame, a massive shame. So spending on benefits then. So we've seen the bigger shift in spending on benefits within the SME kind of space, if I'm honest with you, because it's the SMEs really that are so small to medium sized enterprises, businesses with under 250 staff. They are struggling the most in terms of competition for staff. So they're struggling the most with recruitment. And what they're doing is they're reacting to this really, really well. And what they're doing is proactively reviewing what they're doing benefits-wise. And we conducted a survey with our clients, and we said, tell us why you are doing this. And they said, because we are in a space that post-COVID now that we've never been in before, where we are actually having to sell ourselves as employers more than we ever have had to in the past. So in terms of how spending is actually changing, it's changing a fair bit. We're seeing a big shift in that kind of space. So what are people spending money on? There are some great general themes out there, and those general themes are around things like employee assistance programs. So there are employee assistance programs out there that you can actually tailor to what you think your staff will benefit from. The employee assistance programs are there to support employees, for example, with a counselling service, with a chat about your health, that kind of thing. So they are, massively up there at the moment in terms of what people are engaging with. We're also looking at the moment at how people work. So I'm not going to bang on too much about the working from home thing because it's out there in the public domain and lots of people are having conversations around it. What we are seeing massively is a lack of management competency in terms of managing teams remotely, which is interesting because we're getting feedback that is saying, I like working from home, it's brilliant, but my manager doesn't facilitate it well. My manager is struggling to create a sense of belonging in terms of around the team. We're not engaging enough, we're not communicating. Some team members are feeling isolated because the managers have stepped back too far in terms of their management style. They become too laissez-faire, when actually they should be far more conscious about engagement when people are working remotely than ever before. So lack of skill and management competency is something we should be looking at, because whilst it shouldn't be an employee benefit, how you are managed in the workplace is often a deciding factor about whether somebody stays or whether somebody goes. It also affects how managers behave in terms of managing their teams, also affects your business's reputation. So, I'm out and about and I listen to people talk about businesses and they'll say, oh, I wouldn't go and work there. It's not very much, hardly any direction, no support. They just leave you to get on with it. You're on your own, sink or swim. So how we behave in the workplace, how people are managed, can actually have a very, very negative or positive effect in terms of attraction and retention as well. So we just need to be mindful that benefits aren't just about products. Yeah, the whole retention and recruitment piece should be embedded into the culture of the organisation and how people actually behave. So current trends then, in terms of benefits then. So we're seeing a very much lower level of social events, team days. We're seeing a much lower level of people wanting to attend that sort of stuff. I genuinely believe that it's not because they want to not go. I genuinely think that they got out of the rhythm of it. Yeah, they got out of being used to, doing that sort of stuff. So it's about how we encourage people back into that way of engaging. We've got a lot of, I won't go far as to say conflicts, but unhappy people who want, in terms of, well-being, they want increased annual leave. Very, very topically, this week, Welsh Government have announced that, as I said earlier, they're looking extremely closely at the 4-day working week. It's not even a conversation we would have been having 5 years ago, even. But the pandemic has drastically changed the landscape in terms of how people want to choose their lifestyle, about how people balance their work with their home life and all that kind of thing. In terms of getting into HR policy and procedure itself, got a lot more scrutiny about, carrying days over, flexibility about how people take their leave. So having some really, really open and honest conversations about, what is it that you'd like? What is it that you need? Balancing that with the needs of the business and come into a collaborative and agreed on outcome. But it's about having those open and honest conversations about it, which is important. Financial allowances or perks as well for those working from home. As I said earlier, we need to be very, very careful. We can't make the assumption that everybody who works from home actually likes it or enjoys it or wants it. Yeah, so how people are rewarded in terms of the perks of doing that, it's going to be far more important for the people who don't like working from home than the people who do.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Of course.
So when you say financial allowances, you mean an increase in pay or a reduction in pay?
Often increase in, when I say pay, I'm going to use that word very, 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 very loosely. So I've got a client at the moment who every quarter, for those people who are working from home, they give them £100 bonus. And
in my particular case, I really don't like people working from home. And increasingly, the number of friends of mine who run businesses, everybody wants them back in the office. They don't believe working from home is necessarily effective for their business.
And I completely agree with you in that. At the end of the day, a lot of businesses need that engagement. They need them back in the office. There are some great statistics around the fact that, you lose the sense of team, you lose the engagement, that affects productivity. Also people's knowledge and expertise. We're seeing a decrease in that where people are working remotely, where it's not managed well, because the thing is, you lack that unconscious learning, if you like, that you get in the office.
Yeah, I think the other thing we've come across is that we're introducing a rule next month that anybody new that joins this company, unless you can prove to us that you are naturally highly organized, we are never giving you home working. Because I have to have a member of staff go round and sit on these home workers now to check that they've organized their diaries, because we're increasingly having to check that they've actually done the work they said, because it appears unless you're naturally organized, the cat wants to go out, the postman's arrived, a squirrel ran outside, something was on the TV, they drift off to not doing the work they're supposed to be doing. And unless they're naturally organized, you suddenly find out they're not actually working. And we have to, like, we call a boot camp Bethan, whereby we are sitting on them now going, right, show us your diary. And, so in the worst cases, we have to go, what have you done this hour? Right, check it. And then we get things like, well, I don't think this is right because I can go and get paid more elsewhere. Hold on a second. If you went elsewhere, they're still going to want you to work.
Yeah, so I guess, and this is the thing, every single individual has their own needs and wants and how they work and feel they work best. In terms of having to sit on people, from my perspective, I would say that's a leadership and management issue. So if you feel that you have people who are not competent enough to manage their own time, maybe there's also a competency issue or a training.
The problem I've got is these are really smart people, all with master's degrees in marketing. So these aren't idiots. Okay. Yeah. These are really smart people. And I'm having this problem whereby in the current market, it's going to end next year because the mortgage rates are going up. All these people over 50 who are retired are going to flood back into the market because they can't afford the mortgages. It'll be happy days. But at this moment,
I think you've got it sorted there.
Okay, it will be. The market will be better for all of us then. But for the moment, they're instant. So I've got very smart people, and they're continuously hit up by recruiters.
Yes,
and they literally, if it feels as if work's an inconvenience to them these days.
Well, because people's values have very much changed around work and balancing your lifestyle with your work commitments. I have to say that in my experience as a learning and development professional and as a coach, I work with some of the most intelligent people in industry. But it doesn't mean that they're good at managing their time, and it doesn't mean that they don't need development and support in that. Okay. So I don't think we can make the assumption that just because your industry experts, the professionals that you work with, just because they have a degree means that they have the competency to get through a day's work, manage deadlines, that kind of thing, because they weren't taught or trained that when they did their degree. I guarantee you that.
No, it's a good valid point. That it isn't. I used to feel that we employed them because they'd gone through college and they had this type of, I always felt that college had taught them to stick out at it, just keep going on it and put some discipline in place on it. But I feel that once we empower them with a skill set that becomes valuable in the market, there's no sense of loyalty these days.
Well, going back to the start of the session, what I started by saying was actually employers are competing more for employees now. That space has completely turned on its head, and we have to be mindful of that. And the whole point of this discussion is people want more and more benefits, and those benefits shouldn't just be seen as things like products and services. Employee benefits are things like I feel well developed, I feel supported, I feel safe. I feel safe in my role. I'm managed well. I've got a great relationship with my manager. That manager allows me progression and development opportunities and that kind of thing.
I've run into problems with that as well, because I have a feeling that if we take a sports analogy, I bring some players on, I train these players, they become good playing on the pitch.
Sure.
But what they want to be is, they don't want to stay on the pitch playing, being really good at playing. What they want to do is they want to become a manager. But we wouldn't take Ronaldo or some great player off the pitch and say, right, you're in charge of the team now. Go and organise the holidays. Go and organise the vacations. Make sure we've got that training session booked over there. Make sure we've got this hotel books. You keep those star players on the pitch playing. And I'm struggling about how do I really, just because they're good at doing my technical job in marketing, doesn't mean they're necessarily good at basically management. And really, I need them to stay in the job doing it. So I'm type of moving towards giving them a percentage of the revenue they bring into the business to try and overcome these issues. But that's the one thing I found out is just because you're good technically, you're a good technician, it doesn't mean you're a manager and can do it.
Absolutely. So what we're talking about here is occupational competency. So just because you're a very occupationally competent marketing professional does not mean that you will be a great leader or a great manager of a team, because at this point, we haven't provided them with the learning and development to support them to become that person. And actually, they might not be or ever have the competency to do it. But the point for me is that if you've got talented people in your organization and you are struggling to see if you can't promote them for whatever reason, if there's no progression opportunity there, it's about sitting down and having the conversation of, I realize you are this person, that you are professional and you are highly skilled in this area. You know, do you want progression? Do you want to progress into another role? And if the answer is no, then it's about having a conversation of, okay, I want and need to retain you. How do I do that? What do you want from us as an organization to keep you motivated, to keep you engaged, to make you feel a sense of self-worth, to make you feel safe and happy in the workplace, whatever it might be. Because unless we have those conversations, you will lose your talent to your competitors.
Okay.
And I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. We are in this situation now where employees are driving the dialogue. They are saying, unless you do this for me, I'm going to go somewhere that does. So your space has become far more competitive as a business owner, leader, or manager. Wherever you sit in an organization, you are constantly competing to retain and recruit. It's a very unusual space, and we haven't been in to this extent before. So we're going to have a look at current trends in benefits long term. And some of these might seem very basic to you, but this is based on data which we've actually collated. So, as I said earlier, increased emphasis on well-being, but don't just use the word. What is it that you're doing well-being wise, in order to substantiate your claim of, we focus on well-being. It's part of our culture. Well-being, we're great at it. We make sure everyone's okay every day. That kind of thing. One of my clients has just, not just, in October, he introduced a 2 p.m. finish on a Friday. I have to say, I was reluctant for very many reasons. Productivity has gone up by 11%.
On how many staff?
57.
Okay.
Productivity has gone up by 11%. Our pulse surveys that we send out on their behalf, I mean, the difference that has made in terms of how motivated people are. We're seeing retention figures getting more positive now because they were losing.
How long ago was it? So my question on that would be is, I could see it would be an immediate benefit, and I could see that would increase well-being immediately, 1 or 2 periods. Whether in 6 months or a year's time, that would probably erode to zero.
I disagree. And the reason I disagree with that is that I had a chat with somebody who was thinking of leaving there last week. When I say thinking of leaving, but no, he was offered a job with a competitor.
Yeah.
I said, what stops you from leaving? He said, 2 p.m. finish on a Friday. They can't give me that. So it actually, from a retention point of view, it stopped him going.
What happens when your customers need the service on the Friday afternoon?
Well, I guess it's how you manage that. They're actually in a position where most of their clients and customers don't work on a Friday afternoon anyway. They're in the engineering industry, so it's very common for a lot of their customers to finish at 12 on a Friday. So don't get me wrong, I'm talking about one example here that suits that business, and the needs of the business and their clients and customers may not suit everybody. But what I'm saying is that one benefit can make a really big difference if that is something that appeals to the workforce and appeals to the demographic of the workforce and that kind of thing. And this is where these surveys are just so important, because unless you take the pulse, unless you get the feedback of what people want, you just put in a package together for the sake of it, really, because if it doesn't appeal to them, it's not going to keep them there. Yeah. Yeah.
So what you're basically saying, we're here at the moment, we want to be over here, and unless we're measuring how we are on that road trip, we don't know if we're going to get to over there.
Exactly, because how do you know if you're going to retain the talent that you've got, and how do you know if you're going to be able to attract the talent that you need? Okay. So yeah, these consultations, these conversations about what people want, but vital, absolutely vital. So these are the things that are currently trending at the moment. What really surprises me, and the shift that we're seeing here, is that it's not actually financial incentives in a lot of cases that push people to be attracted or to leave or to stay, whatever it might be. It's about this whole kind of package. It's about work-life balance. It's very much about giving flexibility. Yeah, how adaptable are we as a business? Are we one of those businesses that say, oh, in the first 6 months of your annual leave year, you have to have taken this much annual leave? Or can we be flexible about things like annual leave? Are we too rigid about it on the other side of the scale? Holiday buy and sell schemes. So many people just want more and more annual leave. And again, it's about this, work-life balance, increasing a sense of well-being, spending time with family. And again, unless you have those conversations, you're not going to know what is it exactly.
What's a buy and sell scheme?
So you can actually buy and sell holidays. So you can either reduce your annual leave that you're entitled to and work instead, or you can buy extra. Yeah. So if you have a flexible benefits pot, for example, where an employee has a flexible benefits pot, and out of that pot, you might say, well, you've got 9 different options of where you can spend your flexible benefits budget, for example. And they might decide that they're just going to buy extra holiday with those. So they're going to get 5 days holiday extra a year. And that might be something which is very, very attractive to them. Yeah.
I can see it being attractive to them, but as for me owning a business trying to make money, it doesn't necessarily sound attractive to me.
I guess in terms of balance financially, in terms of recruitment and retention, you need to balance what your benefits package looks like with the cost of recruitment and retention. So if it's going to cost you on average £2,500 to lose somebody and re-recruit, and then think of the amount of time and effort you're going to have to put into, in induction and getting them into the business and possibly some training that they need and all of that.
Wouldn't you be better going, okay, let's say
John, I'm very sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Can you let Cath carry on with the presentation and ask your questions at the end, because some of us are on a time limit here.
Oh, yeah, sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so designing this kind of partly answers your question anyway, John. So when you're putting a benefits package together, we all understand as businesses that we're having to be lean at the moment. It's quite uncertain economically what's going to happen in the next sort of 24 months. But balancing that with the cost of losing people or not attracting the right people is key here. So determining your budget, have a look at what you've already got in place, carry out research in terms of trends. Now, trends are internal and external. So your external trends are, benchmarking yourself against similar organisations. I just did an exercise where we benchmarked maternity and paternity leave for similar organisations, because the feedback was coming back that, your maternity and paternity policy is it's the basic minimum, and there's a lot of negative feedback around it. So we did the benchmarking activity for them. In terms of internal trends, what we're talking about is asking your team. Yeah. So sit down with your employees, you have a consultation, or you get someone like us to come in and do it for you, whichever is easiest. But that communication and that honesty and transparency is absolutely key. Can't tell you the amount of positive effects that it has in a business when you just turn around and say, we want you to be happy. Yeah, we want you to be motivated. We want to provide you with, the best working environment that you can. In terms of benefits, tell us what you want. Yeah, because we can't make the assumptions anymore. People's hearts and minds have changed so much in the last 2 years, and making the assumption is quite a dangerous place to be, really. So I mentioned right at the start how important it is to promote your benefits. You are selling yourselves more and more, having to sell yourselves more and more as a potential employer now than you ever had before, because potential employees are so much more, it feels like they're more savvy. I'm not saying they are more savvy, but they're definitely looking much more carefully about the culture of organizations, what you offer, benefits, what value are you going to add to their employee experience with you? Yeah. So, promote it all, get it out there. And we need to do that internally as well, because as I said, there's quite a lot of employees, bonkersly, who don't actually know the benefits they've got. So how can we do that? Promoting it internally too, so we can do it as part of your induction process. Make sure that benefits are in your employee handbooks. Have a look as well, around your organisation, maybe putting the step up on portals if you've got a largely remote working team, so that people are continually aware of what the benefits are, how they can work for them, yada, yada. And obviously pulse surveys, a monthly pulse survey, how is everybody? If you've got teams working remotely, that is vitally important. Yeah, that you keep your finger on the pulse of how they are. Yeah, that you get feedback from them. Because when they're working remotely, you don't get to see that body language. You don't get to see somebody walking past the coffee machine where you might make some, observations about how that person is. Okay, so in terms of support with benefits packages, some of you might be very au fait with, how to put packages together. Some of you may not have ever done anything like it before. So in terms of support that you can have, speak to your relationship manager at AGP. Yeah. There are many external HR and learning and development providers out there, like ourselves, who can support you with that. And then you've got the specific benefits providers. Yeah. So you've got people like Perkbox who put benefits packages together for you. And you've also got, take a look at Office Vibe as a monthly pulse survey. We use it internally and externally with clients, and it's a really, really good, clear, honest, simple tool that you can use in order to get a reading of how people are feeling. Yeah. Okay, so we've got around 10 minutes, I think. Would anybody like to ask me any questions? John, this is your moment.
Hi, could I ask a question, please?
Of course.
Hi. Office Vibe, is that something that you have to subscribe to, and is there a cost to it, or?
There is a cost to it, and you do have to subscribe to it.
Okay.
I can't give you the cost off the top of my head, I'm afraid.
No, that's fine. But
definitely have a look at it, because I've worked with quite a lot of software packages like this, and what I love about it is that it's nice and clean and simple.
Okay.
And as a manager, you can actually manipulate it to focus on areas that you may have concerns about. So, for example, if your business is about to go through a significant change and you feel that people might be feeling a little bit frightened about that or unsafe or whatever, you can actually manipulate the questions to get a really strong read around those areas.
Okay.
So what I love about it is that it's just not randomly, shooting off questions in the survey. You can manage it, and you can manage it to your advantage, particularly, if you are thinking that you might have some retention issues around something that's happening organisationally.
Okay, so the questions, you sort of tailor them to your business, or are they a set group of questions provided by Office Vibe?
You can actually tailor them to your business.
Okay.
You can manipulate it in that way, in that
Right.
I get exactly where you're coming from. Different businesses have very different cultures, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
And what's important to employees, in an engineering firm might not be the same as employees who work in an office environment.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, you can absolutely, tweak it to suit your needs, definitely.
Okay, no, that's great. Thank you.
It's okay. Any other questions?
How do you, the market I'm in is, I suppose, it's a quite of a laissez-faire type of egalitarian market, and there's a lot of movement towards young people starting up businesses, and they're not as necessarily focused on money, and they are a lot. So big thing at the moment in my market is, let's share 50% of the profit with staff.
Okay.
But it's so how do you deal with that? Because they are like groups of people that are setting up. They're not like the early entrepreneurs maybe of the 80s and 90s. They don't have an interest in making money, and they're all about giving it away to their staff. But if you're competing against that, they're creating cultures of, well, we don't want you really to do much work. We don't want you to be stressed out. It's give. And the owners of these businesses don't really seem very interested in making a profit. When you're competing against that can be very hard.
So you're right. You are in every single employer in this country is in a highly competitive space at the moment, and that's why we're seeing more and more businesses asking people to become either shareholders in the business or profit sharing or whatever it might be, because as far as they're concerned, in terms of sustainability, if that's what they need to do to attract and keep the talent that they have, that's what they've decided to do competitively. Now, it might suit certain markets, it won't suit others. And also from a values point of view, you've got to ensure that the culture of your business is attracting people who have got aligned values with you.
So we specialize in bringing people from university, and we provide incredibly high levels of training. We do end of month barbecues. I take people to Vegas, do all of this. But it always seems to come down to one thing, is they can have been with me, so they can come out of uni and 6 months later, people are offering them 35, 40,000 when they're still in the training program. It's just that it seems that my competitors can't train people, so they keep continuously trying to get them from me.
So because you are in a highly competitive market employee-wise, what I want to ask you, John, is have you reviewed your policies to ensure that from an investment in training point of view, that there are things within those policies which would make people think twice about it?
But I can't. So if I was to use an external training company, I can recover that cost. But as we do the training in-house, and we're a bit of a specialist area in Google Ads, we can't go, oh, you want to leave after 6 months, you owe us that training back. That's not legally enforceable. It's not legally enforceable,
no. But any external
the market changes so fast. For example, there's something called ChatGPT. It's on a training course here. I mean, that's changing our market rapidly at the moment. Okay, content writers aren't really needed and whatever. Okay, but the market changes so fast that getting external people can be a bit difficult sometimes. But then the only reason I'd be using external people is to then threaten staff by going, if you leave it in 6 months, you're going to have to pay back the training cost.
I wouldn't.
I don't want to do
right.
that because I have a very nice culture. We're very friendly. Yeah. Okay, we're quite lax, easygoing, all the bits and pieces. But one of the real problems is that there's only so far a benefits package will come if somebody's going to turn up and offer you 10 or 15,000 more when you've only been 6 months in the industry.
And that's because they're competing with you for that talent.
But they don't train that talent. They just steal it from me.
So, and you're right in that employee benefits will only go so far if people are payrolling you out of the market where employees are concerned. Then that it's a whole different presentation and a whole different challenge, if you like.
So it's like weird things I've learned over periods of time here. So at one point, we encourage people to be really friendly. We do big out of work activities. We do bowling, all these type of activities. But what they did then was they grouped into little cliques of groups of people. They'd form into these groups. And then if one of that group was to leave or get offered a job, all that clique would suddenly go as well. So now I find myself, I don't really want to encourage people to do out of work activities. I'd rather come to work hard, have a great time, go home and lead your life. That way it type of stops these cliques forming and they don't all leave at once.
Personally, I don't think if somebody goes bowling and one person decides they're going to leave, they're going to do that in the office or at the pub or in their own time. You know, I wouldn't worry about paying for them to go bowling. And
no, I mean, but in terms of
going to leave,
I'd artificially engineered social events which they all became friends at. Accidentally, I didn't mean to, but I was putting these events on, end of month barbecues. We'd celebrate successes, X, Y, Z. And by exposing them increasingly to like a non-work social environment, they were forming groups of people and they were forming little cliques and they'd be off to whatever they're all doing at the weekends. But now I don't do that. And what I find now is that they're all diverse and they don't really hang around together now. And my retention level's so much higher. When I was encouraging, we'll all go out to bowling, we'll all do this event, we'll all go paintballing, that type of generated cliques. That then with them, then they were even at the social events, they'd hang around in these little groups they'd formed into a friends, and then one of them left. And repeatedly this happened. You'd rapidly see within the next 2 months, all of them would be gone.
John, what I'd like you to do is actually speak to your AGP contacts around the challenges that you are having with retention. I want to tell you that you are not alone. A lot of what you're saying is happening in a lot of places.
I mean, because it seems like I talk to my friends who own businesses and all these bits and pieces, and we all seem to be suffering the same problems, and we're all trying these different avenues and different approaches. I mean, and it's type of, we don't really know. So I used to work for Eurocamp once, and it was the most fantastic, brilliant company you'd ever come across. Free lunches, free holidays, everything. It was gloriously brilliant. I loved the company. Fantastic time working there. But everybody moaned about the company. And my next role as a contractor was
I'm going to stop you there a little bit, John, because there is a human element to that. You will never make all of the people happy all of the time, and we need to, we need to accept that. We also need to expect a certain amount of retention. I personally would be very interested to see what your exit interview data is telling you in terms of retention and why.
I think it's because I specialize in small businesses, and I have a view that I like to put my manager working directly with the client. And I have an opinion that if you're responsible for someone's marketing and you're directly working with that business owner, you have a greater sense of responsibility for what you do. Normally, it works whereby there's somebody in front of them, an account manager, and that person then acts as a front to the owner of the business or the CFO or whatever. And I don't think they like this being held to account by our clients. I think they find that stressful.
I think, John, I would be very much advising you to do some very thorough research into how your staff are feeling about how they work, outcomes, how they're managed, that kind of thing, because I know you're saying that a huge driver of people leaving is salary, but some people will actually not leave because they're working for such a great place rather than get an extra 2k a year. Or
no, we're not talking 2k, we're talking 10, 15,000. We're not talking small amounts, okay? We're talking, you know, these are 10,000 plus jumps in salary.
Yeah, that's
my competitors are so desperate for staff. For some reason, I don't understand why it is, they never seem to be able to train their own staff.
Cath, can I just ask a question, please? Because I've got to go soon.
Yeah, sure.
Just quickly, you mentioned trying to benchmark yourself against the competition in terms of benefits. I was just wondered, how do you do that? Because quite often the benefits type of information is fairly confidential. So I was just wondering how would you go about doing that?
So as an outsourced HR provider, we provide that service to clients. So we have access to tools and data that allow us to do that. But what I will say is, because employers are now more focused on promoting their benefits externally, I'm actually seeing quite an increase in what you can actually see on a website, because they're shouting loud and proud about it more. Because
that makes sense.
So what I would say is, obviously I don't know what sort of organisation that you're in, but I'd have a little go yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
could I suggest you look at the job adverts for your competitors, because they're probably listed on the job adverts, aren't they?
Yeah, so they're on the job adverts, much more on the websites now, that kind of stuff. It's always good to talk to your peers, in the same industry, if you have the right sort of, you know, relationship with them where you can have that type of conversation. Lot more accessible information out there now than it ever has before. So definitely have, you know, go and have a little look, definitely.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
On that, why don't you try and be a pseudo employee and apply to the recruitment agency and see what they tell you?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that one, but
just ring up and go, oh, I'm interested in that job, tell me about it, and see what they tell you.
Okay, so my time is coming to an end. So has anybody else got any questions?
I've got to head out. All I'll say is thanks for that, Cath, and enjoy your breakfast.
I know. You have a lovely weekend too. Thank you for everybody for attending.
Can I just say, before we just lock, I know we're going to lose time here, but I know Cath does work with one of our coaching teams that deal with a lot of this. So as Cath said earlier, if you've got some real concerns, go straight to your AGP RM. If you're not sure, Amanda, I don't know, if you're not sure, then speak to the ones who are as our contacts on there. They can tell you who the RM would be, and then they could maybe look at getting some help and support for you on those. They would be your first port of call there. Anything, David, Heather, or Amanda, and John, sorry, anything you think of that you would have wanted to ask, just contact either myself or Cath. Is it okay to contact you?
Absolutely, yeah. If you'd like to get in contact with me, direct, yes, absolutely, that'd be great.
Or just do it via the AGP team, then we can forward that and get you the help and support there. So just look out for your AG3s. Are you happy to share slides, Cath, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Shall I send them to you direct, Lisa?
Yeah, if you send them to me, and then I'll hold them as ransom for people signing their AG3s. And as soon as you sign your AG3s, I will send you out a copy of that there. So, and we've also recorded the session as well, so we can send that if anybody wants to refer back to anything on that as well. So thanks for giving up your time. Enjoy your breakfast, everyone, wherever you're going. And, hopefully we'll see you soon. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Cath, thank you, appreciate it.
Bye-bye.